2016.
For most people, it was just another year. For the world, it was a time of celebration, transition, and new beginnings. But for one girl, it was the moment she stepped into the light, only to find herself buried under shadows far darker than she had ever imagined. She had debuted.
Det moment est vrai traîné dream of. The stage, the lights, the applause.
But when Jennie Kim finally stood beneath the spotlights, she wasn't met with cheers of celebration. Instead, she was welcomed by a tidal wave of criticism, skepticism, and ruthless judgment. In the eyes of the public, she wasn't enough. Not talented enough.
Not charismatique enough. Not anything enough.
People looked at the outcome, but they never stopped to ask about the journey. They saw the surface, but not the storm beneath it. They didn't know, or maybe they didn't care, that behind the glitter and glamour was a girl who had spent years training in silence, pushing herself in empty studios long after the others had gone home, bruised, exhausted, and still dancing. Jennie was one of the longest trainees in YG Entertainment. She entered the world of K-pop not as a star, but as a teenager, barely 16. Leaving behind her home, her family, and her childhood comforts to chase a dream even she wasn't sure would ever come true. While her peers were discovering youth, she was discovering sacrifice. While others were falling in love, Jennie was falling into routines of relentless practice and invisible pressure. Her life wasn't lit by camera flashes, but by the flickering studio lights that stayed on long into the night. People saw the polished debut. They didn't see the tears that fell silently in dorm rooms. They didn't hear the self-doubt that echoed louder than any applause. After every performance, she would return to her room, unlock her phone, and scroll through thousands of comments, most of them not cheering her on, but tearing her down. Every movement, every note, every smile, dissected, criticized, mocked. Some said her voice lacked power. Others attacked her dancing, her expressions, her presence. And perhaps the harshest blow of all? They called her arrogant. As if confidence was a crime. As if believing in herself was something to be punished. No one asked how a person is supposed to keep smiling when their heart is breaking a little more each day. No one paused to consider how much strength it takes to stand tall when your spirit is being chipped away by strangers you've never met. Jennie, no matter how strong she seemed, was still human.
She's tired.
She still got tired. But collapsing was never an option. So she didn't fight back with words. She didn't explain. She didn't beg to be understood.
She chose silence.
She let her work speak for her. Every rehearsal became a response. Every stage became a message. Not to please those who hated her, but to keep a promise to herself, that if she had chosen this path, she would walk it with everything she had. And little by little, something began to shift. The world that once pointed fingers began to take a second look. Slowly, they started to see past the surface. They saw talent, raw, undeniable talent. They saw a girl who wasn't trying to be perfect, but real. A girl who danced not for validation, but for passion. A girl who, behind the icy image, burned with intensity, creativity, and courage. The same girl they once underestimated was becoming unforgettable.
Jennie wasn't born to be universally loved.
She was born to be deeply respected. And that's exactly what she became. From being labeled just the shadow of Blackpink, Jennie rose to become one of the most iconic soloists of her generation.
A fashion powerhouse. A global ambassador. A cultural force.
Her every move, on stage or off, became headline-worthy, not because she chased fame, but because she redefined it. She didn't try to fit into anyone's mold. She broke them all and built her own lane. And in doing so, she became an inspiration not only to fans, but to countless girls who were told they were too much or not enough. But perhaps her greatest transformation wasn't on the outside. It was within. Jennie learned to love herself, every fragile, fiery, complicated part. She stopped waiting for the world's approval and started building her own. She embraced the strong moments, and forgave the weak ones. She allowed herself to grow, not into perfection, but into authenticity. Because she knew, no one is born to be everyone's favorite. But as long as you don't give up on yourself, the light at the end of the tunnel will always be worth it. So if you're out there right now, misunderstood, misjudged, maybe even hated for simply being you, remember Jennie. Not because she was flawless, but because she was real. Because she kept going when no one believed she could. Because she turned the noise into fuel and the silence into power. Her story isn't about fame. It's about fire. Not about applause. But resilience. Not about being adored. But about daring to be herself, fully, unapologetically, and beautifully. And if she could do it, maybe, just maybe, you can too.